I've just found that if I use storytelling and I tell my story authentically, whether it's in our work as filmmakers or whether it's in our work as salespeople, we're able to do 100 times better than we would if we didn't. So I would just say, make a note to incorporate storytelling into everything that you do. It'll make a big difference.
Welcome to Business Ninjas, brought to you by WriteForMe, where you'll hear from business leaders who are out there growing their business and slaying it every day. Learn from the masters. Let's get started.
Hey everybody, welcome back for another episode of Business Ninjas. I'm here today with Eric Keith. He's the Chief Content Officer at SPACEMOB. Eric, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I am a business ninja, and
Officially.
yeah.
Excited to have you. So, Eric, why don't you start and tell me a little bit about yourself?
I'm Eric Keith. I am a film producer and executive for SPACEMOB. We have a channel business, and we produce streaming content for platforms like Amazon and Pluto TV and so on.
That's really interesting. So, tell me some more.
So in 6 years ago, we started SPACEMOB Studio with the idea of helping big web publishing companies scale their video operations. So we worked with groups like Dow Jones, the Wall Street Journal, Time Inc. You get the idea. And we sort of realized that that wasn't a business model that was really sustainable. There were not enough sort of big publishing companies that had overflow needs to support our business model. So we sort of quickly pivoted to branded content, did branded content with groups like NBC Universal, Chase Bank, Lululemon, Honda Motorcycles, so on and so forth. And all that to say that we got acquired by a bigger company. I was able to sell the company to a company called Answer Media. And Answer Media specialized in video monetization. And so I was super excited about the idea of going to work for a company that knew how to make money off of video content, not just from the sort of payment for the services, but actually sort of making a rev share on the video that we were creating. So we turned the entire company towards streaming television, creating over 100 hours worth of original television in the last year and a half, 2 years. And that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's so interesting too, talking about, the growth that you've seen in the industry and, your professional growth as well. So, we've talked off camera about kind of some projects that you have up and coming. Do you want to tell me a little bit about those?
Yeah, so two things really stick out. One, I've been producing a documentary series over the course of the last 15 years of my life called Girl Unscripted. It's about at-risk girls in Kansas City and St. Joseph, Missouri, so a small industrial town and the urban core of Kansas City, where the girls do a summer camp, where they learn about filmmaking, about writing, directing, and they tell their stories. But while we're doing that, we're videotaping their lives. We're following them home. We're interviewing them on a regular basis. We're really getting to know what it's like to be a girl. And we actually tracked with them over the course of 10 years of their lives. So it's a sort of once in a lifetime project that we're super excited about. It's real. It starts on PBS on October 1st, but it's a real sort of tearjerker. But it's really something special.
Yeah.
And the other thing that we're working on is we got the rights to sell and represent the Stan Lee Omniverse collection. So all of Stan Lee's content for the time period when he was not working at Marvel. So there's about a year and a half there. And then 3 years during his time at Marvel, he created what's called the Femizons, a group of female superheroes that are really, really awesome. And he was able to get the rights back through his employment agreement when Marvel realized that they shouldn't have fired him because his brand was so big. they gave him the Femizons back to try to like lure him over to the force, to the Marvel again. So we've got all of this content, and we're taking it to market, and press releases are going out, and all that exciting stuff.
That's really exciting. So it's an exciting time to be with, Space Mob always, but specifically now with kind of these projects in the works.
Yeah, it's a fun time right now for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So talking about Girl Unscripted again, it sounds like, that obviously you said it was a tearjerker. It sounds like it's been an emotional journey, kind of watching, these girls develop over the last 15 years. I imagine, there was probably some triumphs, but also some tough times for those girls.
Yeah, this is one where the stories are horrendous. It's everything from child abuse and sexual abuse to bullying and drug abuse and kids cutting themselves, and sort of every horrific story that you could possibly hear. But what I was overwhelmed by is the level of hope that these girls show despite the obstacles. One girl that I can think of in particular was named Clarissa. And when we first met Clarissa, her hair was literally blocking her face, and she was mumbling in a way you couldn't really understand a word that she was saying. The second year she came back, and she had bright pink hair, and her hair was like this, and you could start to see her face a little bit. But 10 years later, she's this just beautiful woman, and she's got two kids and a chicken farm, and she's just so happy. Like, she always wanted to raise to do like a rescue project
Yeah.
for animals, and so she had her chickens, and she couldn't have been happier. So some of the stories of hope. Another student was a ran her own hair salon, and just real great success stories coming out. That's coming out of a family with 9 kids, where the girls were taking care of the little ones, and it's just amazing that she would go on to be able to start her own business.
Yeah. That's fantastic. That's such a motivational story. And I love that you're able to take it from where they were, showing how much they've developed and grown over the years. I imagine that's going to be a really powerful It's a documentary?
Yeah, docu-series.
Yeah,
Yeah.
docu-series. I think that's fantastic. That's great.
Thank
So,
you.
going back to talking about Space Mob, you talked a little bit about the growth that you've seen in the industry, the changing, how, Space Mob was really able to adapt. Talk to me a little bit more about what that growth has looked like for you.
I mean, so we made the turn to streaming channels at a really, really smart time. So, right now, if you were to get into the sort of, well, let me explain what I mean by channels. So there are streaming channels on all the major platforms, where it's basically like a single experience, where it'd be like,
Mhm.
hey, this is all horror films, or it's all I Love Lucy episodes, or whatever it is. It's a channel devoted 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to that topic, whatever that topic is. And so if you were trying to get into that business right now, you'd be really struggling. It'd be really tough, because there's more channels than, I mean, the platforms are cutting more channels than they're adding. So it's a really, really kind of tough time for it. But when we got in, we were able to develop relationships with all the key players at the right time, and really understand what we need to do to survive. And we were able to thrive within that situation. We happen to have one show, the Red Green Show, which was a PBS show that was out of Canada, that won like the equivalent of 22 Emmy awards in Canada. I don't remember what they're called exactly, but I should. Anyway, it's just been a blow up channel for us. Like, it has just totally launched our business into a whole nother realm, which is funny because it's a show nobody's ever heard of, except for the people that watched that TV show growing up. So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
That's fantastic. That's great. So, Eric, as we start to wrap up this conversation, is there anything that you want to leave our listeners with, either about the industry, your experience in filmmaking, coming to Space Mob, the different docuseries that you're working on, Stanley's collection, anything you want to leave our listeners with?
No, I mean, probably not, but I'll give it a shot. Storytelling is such an important part of any business. Like I'm not sure who the average listener of the podcast is, and what types of advice they're looking for, or if they're looking for any. But I've just found that if I use storytelling and I tell my story authentically, whether it's in our work as filmmakers or whether it's in our work as salespeople, we're able to do 100 times better than we would if we didn't. So I would just say, make a note to incorporate storytelling into everything that you do. It'll make a big difference.
I think that's fantastic. I think that's a great little bit to leave our listeners with. I think, in the world that we live in, it's often easy to get caught up and not necessarily present like your true authentic self with, being genuine and telling stories. And it's so important to be able to, pass the lessons, through many different mediums, this podcast being one. So, I really appreciate you being on Business Ninja today. I think this was a great conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to have you.